Okay, guys, so just to explain buying the dip, and this is something that I do. This is not something that is recommended to anyone else. It's just to elaborate on something that I said in one of my comments in the Easy Investors group. So, this is a mathematical calculator that I devised myself. As you can see here, I have columns here: amount invested, valuation, today's price, profit and loss. All right. Now, this is where I would input stuff, and this is the calculator that it pushes out the uh, the answer. So let's say, for instance, on a given day, on a given stock, the today's share price is 10 Rand. All right. And I decide I'm going to buy 100 Rands worth of shares, and that means I can buy 10 shares. So here is the number of shares that I bought over here. This is the value that I bought. This is the valuation right now, and that is today's share price. So the current profit loss, of course, is zero. All right. So let's say we just keep tracking this, and tomorrow the share price goes up to 12 Rand. Now you can see my valuation moved up to 120. I bought 100 Rands worth of shares. My shares are still 10 Rand, and I have a profit of 20 Rand because my valuation is now 20 Rand more than what I put in. All right, let's reset. So profit loss is now back to zero. Let's say, for instance, the share price goes down to 8 Rand a share, and you can see I now have a loss of 20 Rand because my valuation is now 80 Rand because it's 8 Rand a share, and I still have invested 100 Rand. So my loss is 20 Rand. All right, let's reset. Okay, so let's say, for instance, the share price drops down, let's say, to 4 Rand. So I now have a loss of 60 Rand. My value that I bought was 100 Rand. My valuation currently is 40 Rand because it's 4 Rand a share at 10 shares at 4 Rand a share. All right, so this is quite a big loss, but this is just to explain how this works. So let's say, for instance, I see that share price wants to reverse at this point, and there is evidence of green shoots, and the share price might turn bullish again. So I decide to buy 100 Rands worth of shares again. Okay, so I buy 100 Rand. All right, and I use my calculator. I can see 100 Rand divided by 4 means I can buy 25 shares. Okay, so let's buy 25 shares. I've bought 100 Rands worth of shares, right, which is 25 shares, which means I now have a loss of 60 Rand. Why? Because I've spent 200 Rand, but my valuation is 140, 40 plus 100, right? Therefore, my profit loss is 60 Rand. All right. So now I watch the share price go up. It moves up to 5 Rand. Look at my loss. My loss is now only 25 Rand. It only moved 1 Rand. All right. Because my valuation is now 175. The next day, let's say it goes up again. Let's say 550. My loss is now only 7 Rand 50. Okay. This is still far below the 10 Rand that I bought. See there, I bought it at 10 Rand. All right. And I can actually keep track of it. The price that I paid, it was at 10 Rand then, it was at 4 Rand when I bought over there. So this is just to keep track of what price I paid at that point over there and at that point over there. So now price has moved up to 550. My loss is only there. Let's say it goes up to 6 Rand. My profit is all of a sudden 10 Rand, right? So this is still nowhere near the 10 Rand I paid initially, yet I'm in the profit. Let's say, for argument's sake, it goes all the way up to 10 Rand. Look at my profit, 150 Rand. Why? Because my valuation is 350 and I paid 200 Rand. All right. So this is one way of buying the dip, by paying the same amount of money, but buying at a cheaper rate. All right. There I bought it at 4 Rand. Okay. But now this is not what I do. I actually maximize the dip. So uh, I add on to it. So I'm going to quickly demonstrate. I'm going to reset everything back to what it was. All right, the share price is 10 Rand. Okay, I decide to buy 100 rands worth of shares, which is 10 shares. Okay, the share price moves down to 4 rand. Like I say, I now can buy shares at this price because I see that there's potential. However, I don't buy 100 rands worth of shares. I now buy 200 rands worth of shares. So, how many shares can I buy? Well, let's use our calculator and you can see. All right, I already know it's 50 shares, but let's say 200 divided by 4 rand equals 50 shares. I now buy 50 shares at 4 rand. It was 10 rand there, which is 200 rand. So my valuation is 300 rand, or the valuation is 240. I've spent 300. My loss is still 60 rand, which is exactly the same as what it was before. But I've bought 50 shares. So let's run the same scenario again. Moves up to 5 rand. I'm already at a zero. It goes up to 6 rand. I'm already 60 rand profit. 7 rand, 120, 8 rand, 180, 9 rand, 240, 10 rand. I'm 300 rand in profit. I spent 300, I've made 600. Gives me a value of 300. Now, this is an extreme example. Most of the time, share price will not drop 60% like that. But this is just to illustrate how this works. So this is how you would then buy the dip. However, this does not mean buy the dip as it is tumbling. That's not going to work. You need to wait for it to show a very visible sign that it is reversing, it has found support, and you can use technical indicators. You can use Bollinger Bands. You can use trend regression indicators, whatever you like to do. Or you can look at fundamentals. You can use world events or competitive analyses, and you can look at the financials of the company. Is the price undervalued or is the stock undervalued compared to its growth? Because remember, the investor share market, the market is actually just a popularity contest for a given share. It shows how popular a share is amongst investors. And this includes retail investors and corporate investors. There's a lot of people. If you look at the volumes, you're looking at hundreds of thousands of buys and sells in a day for most stocks. So there's no way to really predict. You need to just find a way to be like-minded with as many people as possible and as many investors as possible. But this is a way that you could maximize a share price dipping, is by buying more shares when you see it is turning around and buying a greater amount.